Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Diane, you take this like you did the last one.
All right. So welcome, Horne King. Is it H&K? Is that how you usually do it, or do you say it out? Right, the name of the company. Let's see. We have David
Guapone.
Grappone. Okay. David, you want to introduce the rest of your team?
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong David.
No, I think she's talking to you, sir.
Yeah, we're trying.
They
Yes.
know who I am.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought they were talking about David King.
Maybe they haven't. I don't see you.
Yeah, David King is actually under the one with Pat. David, can you hear us?
Oh, okay. Well, there's two Pats. There's one that's Pat, and then there's one that's Bernadette and Pat.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of technical difficulty, but Mr. King is the principal there, so that's who David King is. He's in the Pat window, but I'm not sure that
Leaving the whole thing.
I'm not seeing. Oh, he's in the Pat.
Yeah, he's on the left there.
Okay. Well, anyway, whoever, is there someone there that would like to start from HK?
I'm not sure they can hear you, Diane. I think that's a. Let me text David and let him know that we can't hear him.
Hello?
1 second. Hey, David. Yeah, they're having audio difficulties. 1 second. I'll let him know.
Tiffany, is there any way that you can turn their speaker on? No, you don't? Okay.
Turned our video off.
No, I'm not seeing that they have. I mean, I'm checking, but the only thing I can do is mute them, but they're already muted.
You okay there?
Mm-hmm.
How many Davids are here?
At least 3.
Oh,
Looks like 3.
We can't hear anybody else.
Yeah, we can hear you. Was that Pat speaking?
Yeah, but they can't hear.
Oh.
We can hear them. They can't hear us. So they have no idea what we're saying. Technology, that's all I got to say. It's been a rough week already. Zoom was down yesterday too, Diane. You were talking about it being down today. It was down yesterday.
You can hear us.
Ooh,
We can't hear you unless you mute it.
I adjusted it.
Would you like us to go ahead and start? Just a thumbs up or a nod of the head? Okay, we'll do that. Maybe you're just muted or something. I'm David King, and with me is Sharon Jurowitz. We're sharing my wife's computer because she has a camera and a microphone. So if our screen is dark, it may show Pat, which is my wife's name. So just so you know that. Hopefully you received our agenda for this evening. We're not going to read every line in the interest of your time. We'll have time for questions and comments. But we wanted to make sure that we follow along with the agenda that you send to us and respect that flow that you had. So with that, we will introduce in a moment the engineers that are with us this evening. But at the bottom of the first page, the cover page, you will see the names of the firms that comprise our team. And I thought it'd be worthwhile to point out to you that we do not do our engineering like structural, et cetera, in-house. We just found over 42 years that I like to work with other disciplines because of the broad, comprehensive nature they can bring to our discussions based on the other projects they've done that we've not been involved in. So that's the approach we've taken, and it's worked out very well for us. You can see the firms across the bottom there. So on behalf of our whole team, we thank you very much for this opportunity. Looking forward to having a discussion, and we'd be very grateful for the opportunity to work with you on a pretty cool project. One thing I had really noticed about this is what a great setting you have here. It's just a beautiful park setting. It'd be pretty cool to be involved with something that enhances that setting. So the second page looks like this. That's the team chart. And we'll let each of the firms introduce themselves. At the bottom, as you can see across, the structural engineer, Bill Bird, cannot join us this evening. So Pat O'Reilly who I know is here. Would you introduce yourself, Pat, and tell us a little bit about the firm? Pat, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Okay.
I know.
Is there someone talking?
Maybe the mic. I think he can hear us.
Sharon is connecting now. Sharon Jurwitz.
Should I log out and log back in?
You're fine. Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear us, Pat? Because we can hear you.
I
Dave,
can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, Dave, get more to the middle of your screen too, so we can see you and hear you a little better on your mic. Dave, if you want to continue.
Okay. Pat, I mean, Sharon has actually got onto the phone. So now we can. So what should I do?
And now we're on this.
So Pat, did you get a panel right? Did you get a chance to speak and introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, Dave. You're going in and out. I can't.
Why don't you talk into it?
Pat O'Reilly, I think he's passing it off to you for you to introduce yourself.
You good?
No.
Okay.
I tried.
All right. Brian, how about you on the civil engineering? Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, one, I'm excited to be here tonight to present and be part of the team. A little background, I'll be brief, but over 20 years experience. I'll be the main point of contact for the civil engineering portion of the work. Very familiar with the area, having just recently completed the new Minerva Elementary School design school district.
And I'll go ahead and present next. I'm Dave Wilpone with G2 Planning and Design. And like Brian, we just completed the Minerva Elementary School, so we have an extensive experience of working together, as well as the Pataskala Police Station with Horne and King. So we have a really good synergy with our team, and we're very excited for the opportunity to prepare these plans for you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And then just one of the questions you had asked in your agenda was the location of our firms. And I think you probably realize we're all located in the Central Ohio area and not very far from, of course, your community building. I would like to point out too that Sharon and I are the point persons for our group. She and I, from the very beginning of sitting down and talking through the protocols, priorities, etc., we're involved all the way through the process. And that includes the warranty period that comes after construction. So we don't turn this over to some other people in an office to run a project. She and I do it. And we do it because this is what we like to do. We went to architecture school to be architects. I like the engagement with the community public. We love these kinds of projects because they have so much depth to them. They're complex, they're comprehensive, and that makes it exciting. So we're here. We're here for you in all aspects. The next sheet, where again, the titles that you in capital letters, those are the titles you used on your agenda. So we'll just speak to each one of those. I'm not going to read every line, but just point out some highlights. I'm hoping that you notice from our portfolio, and we've included project lists again, that we have extensive experience all over Ohio with these kinds of projects, renovations, expansions, and new construction as well.
the team here worked together for over 30 years. Our firm is 42 years old. Again, I want to stress that Sharon and I are not only the project managers, but we're the design team, the construction team, the shop and drawing team, etc. So we're here for you. The next one, what Sharon will speak to, is about the project itself. And go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon. We tried to log back in on the computer screen. I don't know if you guys can still hear us. You are muted. Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you.
Well, you can hear me over the phone. Is it causing a reverberation of both? Yeah. I can't hear them on there.
I just muted one of their screens, so if they talk, it shouldn't be muffled.
Ooh, thank you.
There we go.
Okay. Yay, we can hear you on the phone and you can see us on the computer, so this is awesome. So, that's what I do. I try to problem solve. So I will take whatever you guys give us and we will make a wonderful project out of it, because that's just what we do at the firm. As the project itself, we have significant experience with similar projects of this size and scope. We included in the packet of information that we gave to you the list of projects that we've worked on. The multi-use project page is one page, and we have 2 pages of just police and then another page of city halls. So you can just see from the vast number of projects that are on there that this is our main bread and butter. These are the types of projects that we do. These are the types of projects that we like. Oh, okay. We've had success on our projects because of our design philosophy and our approach with each city or municipality. We try to work specifically on your project and we don't come in with a preconceived idea of what the design should be or what your square footage should be or what your finishes should be. We try to listen to specifically what your desires are for your project. So every project that we do has similarities that carry from one to another. We learn from one project to another, but every project is completely different because it's based on exactly what you are looking for in your project. One of the questions that you had posed was if we ever go back through and look at, we wish we would have done certain things. We certainly do that. We typically don't feel that we wish we would have done something significantly different in the design. We think we get that pretty well each time from our approach of listening. But what we do find is that we like to update our specifications or some of our details that we do. When we take what we learned from one project and move it on to the next, we might update our wall sections, or we use a new product that a construction manager might recommend or suggest that we use, and we research that, and then we may apply that to the next project that we work on. So we do constantly update the projects from one to another based on what we learned from each one. The other thing that we try to do on these projects, because we mostly do municipal projects, village projects, is that we are quite aware that you are spending taxpayers' money. So we don't come in suggesting things like terrazzo flooring and quartz countertops and things that might be a budget buster. We really try to work with the dollar amount of the project and work towards getting you a project that looks nice and functions well, but bearing in mind what that overall project scope budget is. Some of the concerns that might be on your particular project, would be the phasing of the project. Obviously, you need to stay operational during the project. So how do you maintain police but renovate police? Or how do you maintain police but you want to build a building on your driveway, say? So we try to work on how all of that phasing will work. How do you continue to have meetings if you're renovating your meeting space? So we know how to do those things. We're just working on all these different projects. We've worked on things like Ohio State, where there literally is zero lay down space whatsoever, and they have to work out of one parking space, and we're able to get them moved out and renovated and moved back in, and we're used to working on those kind of situations. Some of the other challenges that you might have on this project will be the need for a storm shelter, and that will definitely be something that we need to look into based on your building having a multi-purpose room or a community room, and that need for a storm shelter in that project. We are in construction on Genoa Township that has a storm shelter right now, so we understand the needs that go into that construction element, so we can look at that and the cost implications of that. The other thing to look at is the essential facilities, since you would have police in this building. We have to meet certain requirements of the building, whether it's renovating your building and bringing it up to meet those standards, or if it's an addition or a new part of the building, to make sure that we're meeting all those requirements.
And if there's any questions, please just jump right in. The next heading, the process, again, hopefully we made a point here that we're all about working with you and communication and the dialogue back and forth. We would sit down to start the project, have a discussion with whomever your team is going to be, and establish certain priorities, overarching goals, the kinds of things that we need to be dealing with as we go through a process. We understand that if there's anything that you've done previously, we'll review that. We'll become familiar with what you've done or whatever you want to provide to us as background. And we have that conversation to establish what you're trying to do. And of course, that's always reflected in the budget considerations. We've never had an opportunity, and not that I ever expect one, where a municipality has said, hey, it's a blank slate, do what you want to do. We understand, as Sharon made a point about, you have the resources are available, and we work the best that we can with them. And as I understand it, I think you're going to be bonding this project to the voters. We have actually done assistance with the municipality to go town meetings, whatever it might be, service clubs, churches, whatever it might be, to make presentations, answer questions about the design, and et cetera. So we're glad to help you with that kind of outreach to the public if you so desire. Let's see, what else? Communications. Oh, and of course, we want to look at not only your current needs, but whatever you might establish as future needs. We want to make sure that that's in play. You talked about options. We understand that. I'm going to mention two projects where that was really a critical item. One is Copley Township, which is just west of Akron, for a safety building. It's police and fire. That had a lot of option studies in it, and meetings with the committee and meetings with the trustees. We looked at two different sites, and on one of those two sites, different locations on that site, and including how to bring a bypass road through the one site. So a lot of variables in the discussion, so therefore a lot of options. 1-story, 2-story, et cetera. And finally, through all that discussion, the trustees determined the site and the approach to the building. So it worked out, everybody was on board. The other one was Powell, the city of Powell. We did a renovation of the exterior of their building. That's another city that had a great opportunity with, years ago, they purchased what was a door and truss company and 12 acres and turned it into a beautiful municipal park. So that was pretty cool. That was thinking ahead. There's no question about that. So we rehabbed the outside of the building and then moved the police department into the half of this office warehouse building. And for that appearance on the building itself, we actually did 3 concept studies of design. And then with the council members and administrators, they literally like voted on which one that they liked. And that's the one that got built, which was a railroad theme. Railroad did come through. There was actually used to be a spur there at adjacent site. So we're used to that. We enjoy that because it's interactive. And anything else, Sharon, on that, you think? Okay. I'm going to reverse the last 2 headers there and finish with wrap up. The other one was, can we move this? Oh, here, thank you. Again, the next steps, obviously, thank you. The next steps, of course, again, that's sitting down with you and talking about, okay, determining the project, establishing priorities, etc., and then working through that. And what is it you're looking for us from services so we can come to a mutually agreed upon agreement. Obviously, to be valuable investigation of anything that's transpired before, become more familiar with the building. Sharon and I have both, although it's been a while, Sharon and I have both been in the building and we've walked the site. And then, of course, you want to do soils and site investigation and surveys. So just to wrap up, we are tuned in. We understand this. We understand the public environment. We understand public commissions and all the ramifications that are involved. And again, this is what we like to do because of its complexity. So, anything you want to add, Sharon?
I think that was good. It was kind of a rocky start, and we apologize for that. We just really want to throw out the chance for you guys to ask any questions. We really hit hard on these lists of different projects that we've done, and we certainly don't want to bore you and go through all of these projects, but I'm sure you recognize names on there of different places that you've seen or visited, and we would be glad to answer any questions on any of those projects. We have had projects that range from under $1 million to several $1 million. We're not set in one specific price point. We're not set on one specific style like we talked about. We're not set on a certain size city or township or village. Our range is vast. You will see the same names on there. Again, we have repeat clients. The city of Dublin, we did their city hall a decade ago. They've hired us to do a renovation, which we just completed, and an addition for their new city hall. We have a lot of projects clients that are these repeat clients.
The Dublin City Hall is also a famous project. Renovation for administrative offices like the city manager and tax and et cetera. And then the phase 2, which is the new building, which is where the council chamber would be, council offices, lobby, that sort of thing. So the first part, which was a renovation, was $1.4 million, and that's completed. So that's a new project, recent project. They've been in about 3 months. And again, I'd like to stress that we did that first municipal building a number of years ago, and then here we come, and they asked us to do the new city hall. I got a real kick out of that, to be selected for that. So.
I have a question. I'm coming
Certainly.
in late. I'm Councilman Curl. Anyway, I've been listening for quite a while. Are you Pat O'Reilly, may I ask?
I'm Pat O'Reilly, yes.
Well, we haven't met, but I think we have someone we worked with for a long time together, Mike O'Reilly.
Mike O'Reilly. That's my nephew, Mike.
Well, anyway, speaking
Yes,
of knowing people, anyhow,
actually, Mike's in the same office building with us.
Well, I know that. I didn't know that until just now. Anyway, well, it's all of you. I have one question, and that is, with all this new, not even certain
edge science and certain, medical protocols going on. What's really changing in design and use of space in terms of COVID? Anything, or is they doing it all with some kind of other technology?
We've been dealing with that right now in our Dublin project that we're working on. We have had to look at separation at the council chamber dais of how far apart they need to sit, whether we're going to do that with actual physical separation if they wanted to have a physical barrier. We've updated a lot of technology in their project so they could do all of their meetings remotely. So we have definitely been looking at that. We also have noticed over the past couple of years that the trend on some of the offices, particularly in police, the size of the office has been going down because they've been either spending more time in their vehicles or time that with technology. So their actual office doesn't need to be as large. They're able to use technology for some of the meetings and things that they used to have in their own personal space.
We could also speak to on the HVAC side, and of course, Pat, you can jump in, but I'm on the school board for Olentangy Schools, and Sharon has chaired and still chairing the facilities committee, which is a board committee that looks at our buildings, looks at our enrollment projections, et cetera. Well, one of the things that's being done with our schools in that regard about safety and health is that they're going completely through the HVAC systems to create much more air turnover, to get more outside air into the building. So there's the other side of that coin too. But it finds the things that they're looking really, really deeply at to keep that air circulating and make it a healthy environment as they can. Pat, anything you want to say?
In the codes over the years too, they've increased the amount of air, and in turn, we look at ways to condition that air with, well, at Genoa Township police facility, we have a heat wheel on that particular HVAC unit, and that heat wheel helps recover energy, so you're not bringing in a lot of outside air and exhausting a lot of air and not recovering operating dollars. So the systems have really got a lot healthier over the years and a lot more air changes, like Dave was saying. But and we really on projects like this, we really like to get in early and discuss the systems with the owners so he knows exactly what you're getting and there's no surprises in the end. And we like to discuss the systems and tell you the advantages and disadvantages of the systems and any cost implications as far as energy costs, so everybody knows what they're getting in the systems, and it's not a surprise once the system is designed and operating.
Okay. Anyone else have a? I'm sorry. Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I have a small follow-up question, because there was mention of, of course, terrazzo is expensive and so forth and so on, but I mean, for disinfection purposes, are they recommending any kind of certain materials now for public buildings? They're going to have to be almost like hospitals in a way, are they not?
You haven't heard a trend going that way. I mean, certainly if you can afford materials that can stand up to the test of cleaning more often than what is typical, then that's definitely what we're going to look at. We do tend to stay away from ceramic tile that has a lot of the porous grout. We try to do sheet goods or things like that that don't have so many of those joints. We haven't heard anything where people need to go to terrazzo or things like that. We definitely like a solid surface for countertops if that's possible, but we certainly need to look at what the budget restraints are in those.
in a general statement about the health of the people in the buildings, on a couple of occasions, we have actually specified paint for wall surfaces because there'd be 1 or 2 employees in the building that had sensitivities, toxic sensitivities. So we specify the paint that doesn't create that situation. So all those kinds of considerations can come into play.
Thank you for that.
Certainly.
Have you, in terms of, you've worked a lot with municipalities and a lot with police departments. Small departments like ours, where we have 9 officers and plus chief. I mean, are there essentials? I mean, any police department can have all kinds of things, but in terms of the essentials, what do you believe a police department has to have at a minimum?
Well, technology, of course, in this day and age is always a critical item throughout and dealing with that. Another consideration is to what extent do you bring somebody into the building or do you take somebody immediately to account, you know, if you're under arrest or whatever, or it could be a suspect. So that's a very important conversation because that can be expensive space. There are different levels of working with the Bureau of Adult Detention. I think it's worth to say that over the years, we've had such a good relationship with them that they require like, was it seven different phases of approvals. They don't make us go through the first 2 because they know what we come up with the design is going to be applicable and appropriate. So that's gone very well. Over the years, we haven't done it for a while, but we've been long-term members of the Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police, as well as the Municipal League. And for several years in a row, until with the economy and things slowed up, we did a 2.5-day seminar in conjunction with the OACP, teaching police chiefs and others the whole process of designing a building. And those are the kinds of things that we would talk about: is their needs, what do we see as being consistent, what it might be unusual. So the holding area and the amount of detention of somebody is critical. For instance, is an interesting one. They wanted to make sure that we had a couple of interview rooms in the front lobby where divorced parents could switch children in a safe environment. So that was an interesting conversation. Years ago with Reynoldsburg, there was actually a shooting where a man chased his wife into the lobby and shot her. Fortunately, she was okay. And from there, we've always developed what we refer to as safe rooms. So a person in distress can go in the room, close the door, it's bullet resistant construction, and they can't leave until an officer takes them out. So just techniques like that we would certainly walk through. Cruiser shelter, there's another one. Covered parking for your cruisers. That's not an inexpensive item. It's something to put on the table. One of the things that I would always say in my seminar with OACP was the police departments are always all the same except they're different. So of course they have certain responsibilities to the community and it's just what are the nuances of how that's accomplished.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Training rooms will be another one.
Yeah, training rooms. Yeah, we did, some of us had gone and who had the opportunity during the day to go visit some facilities and new builds. And some of the things that they, even in the, I always ask, what do you wish you had more of, or where was the miss? And of course, closet space is always a big one on the list. And then training is also a big one. And Hebron, the thing the police department wanted to show us first was their, 4-car garage. Because that was what they were most proud of, because they could turn that into a training area when they wanted to. They were just thrilled with it. So you're right. It just it depends on the department.
And providing electric power and hose bibs in those shelters.
Yeah,
is also important. And the physical training, not only educational training, but the physical training. We've seen a couple of times over the years where the municipality will say, well, we don't want to provide a physical training in the weights and all, because then we're in competition with local workout places. Well, it just makes sense to provide it if you can. And because of the time that you save with an officer, being able to work out on site, on post. So lots of considerations.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? So one last question I have is: you've seen the facility and you've seen the grounds? Are there any other? I would think it would be a bit of a challenging space to have to maneuver in because of the utility poles, and there's a lot of challenges, I think, are possible obstructions to, staging and doing that sort of thing. So any other thoughts you had on that for this particular location? Everyone says it's beautiful, but,
Certainly the utilities is always an item, and that's where the course surveys come in, and that's where the engineers come in. Service entrances to a building, what's the most economical way to bring services into a building? Obviously a part of the discussion. And I want to, before I forget, you mentioned about the size of your department. We work with departments from 300 officers to 8. Powell's is pretty small. Louisville, the Canton area was about 8 officers as well. And we did a design for their station. So the full gamut.
Yeah, we have one issue where we're at. One, behind the building, as beautiful as it is, it's wet. Could probably use some special attention to drains. And the other thing is we have frequent power outages that can last a while. I don't know how much of an issue that is to the police and fire.
Yeah, it is an issue. And of course, we've been doing that without a generator, but not obviously that's something we would want to have.
Yes.
That would be a need really rather than a wish.
I looked into that and went through some tentative penciling outs of some things, Diane, and basically because for any generator to be effective, you have to have fuel for it. And the EPA, we're too close to the water there. So it might be worth it when the time comes looking at some small solar units. Provide backup power for the police. Battery solar.
All right. All good items for discussion in the future. Is there? So if we were to ask you to work with us, go forward, what kind of timelines do you have? What are the projects you've got to fit us in, and what kind of time would we be looking at?
Well, certainly it's a good question actually, because we're a smaller firm. I like being a smaller firm because we can do what we want to do, and that's architecture. And we've been very fortunate over a long period of time here, 4 decades and a couple of years, that our business plan is we always want to have at least one building under construction. I always want to have one project in construction drawings or design and another one in the very beginning phases, because we can manage that very easily. And this project fits in perfectly with that game plan. Whereas to get started, we have actually right now 2 projects that are under construction. Genoa will be finished in October, November, and Dublin phase 2 will be, phase 1's done. Phase 2 will be next year around May, June. So this is a great opportunity from the point of view of our business plan and from the point of view of you're wanting to move forward with a project that fits in very nicely. The first thing we would do, if we're selected, which we very much appreciate, is to sit down with your team, whomever that would be, and again, work through priorities, approach, milestones, all of the things that you want to do, and then we can provide a proposal. And we can do that pretty much any time now. We could sit down almost any time to have that, start that conversation.
That's good to know. That's great. And is it really Genoa or is it Genoa?
It's Genoa.
It's Genoa. I've always called it Genoa. Okay. Genoa.
Well, I'll double. I think it's Genoa, isn't it?
That's how they say it.
Yeah, that's how they say it.
How they say it?
Genoa.
It's
Yeah, I've never heard anything but Genoa.
I agree.
Oh, there you go. I'm from Cleveland, and that's how we say it.
It's sort of like Versailles and Versailles, isn't it?
Yes, like that.
to live there. It's Genoa off of somewhere in Italy.
Yes.
I see. All right. Well, very good. Well, I think we're wrapping up now. And so thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it.
And let me just, one last comment here, because I did mention about if you do a bond, whether or not, I don't know what your plans are specifically, but we're here to help you communicate to the public. So whether it's you got $100 in savings, that's what you're going to spend, or you got to ask the voters for $100, whatever the case may be, we're here to help you communicate.
Okay, very good. Thank you all. Well, we're signing off now, and we are actually, the council people are actually going to stay on and talk to the mayor for a minute, but you guys are welcome to click on your leave buttons and have a good evening.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ladies.
All right. It looks like everybody's done. Okay. Does anybody have anything? Mine's totally separate. So I guess, does anybody have a strong opinion, one versus the other? Does anybody have additional questions that they weren't ready to ask them right now? Is there anything you wished you to ask the first one that you didn't? Anybody?
I would have to come out in favor of Garmin Miller.
You like the first one?
Yes, I did.
Good. Anybody else?
I'd have to go in favor of Horne and King.
Mark? I know you're the one that has to go soon, so.
Yeah, no, we have 20 minutes. I'm good. Yeah, and it's hard to say because Horne and King so blue. They did such a terrible presentation. It's hard to get over that. But I want to try to look at what they can actually, you can't put together a Google slideshow. I guess that's okay. What can you do? I did really like, what they did, some of their stuff on OSU where they were building while, remodeling while classes or whatever's still going on and have no real footprint. But for the most part, I'd really say Garmin Miller is the one that, and I just love that Garmin Miller has everyone. I can understand why Horne and King would say, no, we'll outsource that to people who are true professionals. I think Garmin Miller just has true professionals on their staff. And the least number of people we have to deal with. I don't want to be dealing with subcontractors off of subcontractors.
That was my impression as well.
Good point.
Well, mine in looking at Garmin Miller's buildings, they all seem to be somewhat smaller, and all of them appear to be somewhat modest, which I'm sure has to do with the budget of their employers. But and actually looking at some of the structures that Horne and King put up, I was impressed with both the style and how they went about doing things. And I didn't even know I knew this one chap, but he has an extremely fine reputation, Pat O'Reilly.
Brian?
So,
he's not the Horne or the King, but he has a good reputation. So,
so for the Horne and King group, I did kind of like that they had people who were involved in the design of the new Minerva Park Elementary. I think that brings an opportunity for design synergy. I liked that they talked about their willingness to help and communicate, and I liked that they were very, they certainly spoke to being very willing and able to deal with the kind of peculiarities that Minerva Park is wont to throw at anybody we do business with. Like, you can only work on this postage stamp worth of space, or, all that kind of stuff. But in all, if I were picking all by myself, I'd still go the other way, because they seem to be a cohesive unit who all were able to communicate with us and, even came with ideas ready to go.
Tony? Good points, Brian. I agree.
I think they both have good points and bad points, I guess. And I think that the Garmin Miller, I think though is probably more suited for where we, they had, the other company, Horne King, had an impressive list of customers and people that done work for it, but that's all I consider kind of high-end projects. And that's not what, well, I just think that the Gorman Miller would be more suited for us.
One thing that impressed me is that all of the different associates that work with Horne and King are here in Columbus. And from what I gathered from the first interview, although they have a big team, they're up in, where did they say, Marion, Ohio? It was somewhere out
Minster.
There. And they had one guy in one office here, so there would be some distance involved there.
After going through the first thing, and Diane, and then I'm gonna get Diane's opinion because she had the most interaction with everything from before. But the only thing I'm gonna say, and a couple of you guys hit it on the head, and that was my first thought too, was Horne and King has a great list. There's no question about that, but I feel like we're getting into the exact same problem that we had before. When Diane and when we did the facility, I just felt like they had these big dreams for us and we never really got back to reality. And I felt like, they were kind of shooting for the moon even even after we told them that we couldn't, that's not really where we wanted to be. So I feel like that's kind of, looking at all these $4 and $5 million buildings are amazing, but I feel like Garmin was the one that had some options that, let's just be real, fit our needs and our budget. Diane, what did you think? Because you're the one that you were a huge part of the first one. What did you think in comparison from where we were to what these guys offer?
Well, I think that the Garmin Miller is the junior, shoot, what was the name of the one we picked to do the design work last time? Escaping my brain. Anyway, it was very similar. Muni Nolan, thank you. Muni Nolan. Again, came in with prepared presentation, looked at the site, had some sketches, seemed very together group. So, there's that. I mean, it's glad they're, okay, so you have that. And then you had the more M&M, Mullen, M&W, Worthman, yeah. They were just like the second group. They were more homey, smaller company. We'd use more subcontractors. They were both older guys, and so you had to worry about that too, because they ran the place and they did the work. But on the other hand, and they were more expensive because they were smaller. And we weren't looking for a final. We were just looking for someone to do the design work. So it was a different choice at that time. But I'm just saying, just because you can do a good dog and pony show does not mean that you're going to be good at the rest of it. So what I'm on the fence, I'd like to say I'm on the fence, and I'm hoping I'm going to invite a few people to, if they would, watch the video of these two this week. I'm hoping maybe they can. I know that Beth, who was on our team before, who is an architect, has actually worked with Garmin, and it was on one of her restoration projects. Of course, they're all restoration projects, and she had some issues. she wasn't completely negative, but she did have some practical issues with what went on with their particular project. And I think it would be, I don't know if she knows Horne King, because I couldn't remember. When we were in the community garden, I was telling her, but I couldn't remember the name H&K did. So I don't know if she's worked with them before, but there may be some other people on the team who have, like Rick Walshwhite may be somebody who has had some interactions with one or both of them. And I just like to get their feedback, anybody on the team who has actually worked through their professional relationships with either one of these two, and what their feedback may be, so they can present that to us just as a final. You know, just I think that would be a good idea. So that's what I'd like to do next, is just invite them to, if they wouldn't mind taking the listen to the two presentations. Yeah, okay. And then we can decide, and I wouldn't be upset at this point. Of course, we can ask them both to propose to us. I think, I don't know where we're at. Eric, do we need to pick one, or can we ask them both to propose?
I think we have to pick one. It's the way I understand the process.
Well, when you say propose, Diane, what do you mean?
I just mean put together the package, and they're going to actually, if we pick them, they're going to start working with us. So
correct.
When do they, the way you're doing this process at this time, when do they charge us for working with us?
You have to select. So when you select one, the next step will be that they will then present a contract for review and acceptance, right? So once that's executed, then they start working with you.
So the contract will have an amount. The contract will have an amount for the architect's actual work versus the general contractor and all that. Because the first thing they have to do, though, is to start with us, interviewing, sketching, doing all that design work. And is that then billed from their contract? Let's say they say it's going to cost X amount for us to get the design together. Is that something that they bill hourly?
It's not
just upon delivery of the part 1, part 2, part 3.
Yes. So that's going to be all part of the overall contract, and I believe you can ask them for. I mean, they have their hourly rates, and you can obviously compare those.
Right.
You can obviously, if you want to send out individual questions at this point to both firms and say, what's your base idea of how much time you're going to spend on our project as far as the programming side, and then when you get to the planning side, and then when you actually get to the specific, some of this they won't know the third part until they get through the programming, but they should have a decent idea about, especially both firms are fairly well versed in this, how much time they're actually going to spend on the programming side. Now, assuming, you guys as a group are fairly reasonable, some councils put some groups through the rigmarole and there's a lot more time involved. And so some costs go up due to that, but I don't see that happening here. It's not unreasonable that, you could kind of get an idea with a few more questions to them before you made a selection.
Okay, so I guess my question was, again, they present us with the contract, and they would then if we agree with the contract, we would start working with them. And when does cash change hands for the first time?
Well, depending on the contract, usually they bill you, architects, they'll have it broken down as to what they do for each section. Usually they're going to invoice you every 30 days, okay. Much like these professional firms will.
Okay, so it is an hourly bill, 30 days. Okay, that answers my question.
Okay, they're going to it's my understanding that we pick one of these people, and then they will provide the terms, the contract.
Correct.
And then we take a look at that and see if we want to spend that kind of money.
You have to execute it first before it starts getting billed.
Right.
Is it true? Yeah. Maybe Diane, I'm not remembering it completely correct, but I feel like the last time we actually did get 2 proposals of next steps.
We did.
Okay. So technically,
it was a little bit different process because we never told anybody that this was going to be the whole shebang, right? It was only ever a project it was only ever a project to give us some design specifications so we could figure out what we could afford. And so there was a flat fee for that. And they just said, actually, Muninola came in with the lowest flat fee of 17. You know, we went with them and they worked with us on that, but that was as far as it was supposed to go. This is actually more theoretically more serious than that, because we would be saying, okay, we're picking someone that we believe can work with us through the whole process of you know, doing the facility.
I could see you spending here, based on my experience out there with various projects and square footage, you're going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood, probably on all your soft costs here with the architects and final, you know, plans and all their, it's going to be 60-ish to 90,000, I would guess, based on what you're doing. Those are the soft costs. And I think that's a conservative higher end based on how much involvement they are. So just keep that number in your head. If you get lower than 60, you're doing really, really well.
Did I hear you say, Eric, that H&K is doing the architecture in one of our schools right here in Minerva Park?
No, that's not correct. They're not the architect or engineering firm. They have people serving on the board over in the Northwest school districts like Olentangy.
Oh, okay.
I thought the one guy said that he did.
Yeah, one of their guys, but he wasn't. I don't think everyone who was here tonight with them is an H&K guy. One of the guys said, "I've worked on that." He's worked on that because he's one of their, as they were saying, they outsource a lot of their stuff. So he was one of their out-of-house engineers who has worked on that.
Oh, if it was Osborne, I saw that name there with H&K. If it's Osborne Engineering, I think, then yeah, their names are on some of the, I think on the Westerville plans, if I'm recalling correctly. So
yeah, he said he had worked on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Pat O'Reilly's an engineer himself.
All right, everyone.
That's okay.
The guy that was just on.
He's not even in the mix here. So, okay, we have 7:57.
So next steps for you guys. Let's do that.
Well, I think next steps is I will contact the previous facility group members and invite them to take a look at that and ask them to get back to us by the end of the week. We get their feedback just so, and then I think that we could go ahead then, hopefully, unless the information is a lot different than the feedback we've given my council, it looks like people are leaning towards Garmin, right?
Yes.
Personally, yes.
I'll tell you that. I could go either way at this point, to be honest.
Okay.
I just know H&K, and I go that way.
Okay, so we'll just get this other decision making into the mix, other feedback into the mix, and then we'll hopefully maybe we can have even via email, or maybe we could do a quick Zoom on Friday afternoon, or and then just come to terms with what it is, and so we can notify the firm and move forward with contract discussion.
I'm totally fine with whatever. You guys just tell me which way you want to go. Diane, I'll send you a message tomorrow because Becky will have to upload all of those to the thing. As soon as she gets that done, I'll try to send you a message and let you know they're there.
Okay, that'd be great.
And I'll send her a message tonight.
Okay. I did want to ask Eric. Eric, what is it that you told both of the firms about a bond? Can you tell us what you told them?
Mr. King was a little confused. I told him that your preference was going to be to stay on your underneath your unvoted bond limit, but Mr. King has done he's done a ton of work. I've worked with that firm when I was in a couple of the municipalities with him. He's done a lot of bonded and unbonded voted work, so he knows what he's doing, and he's done a lot of institutional police stuff. So both firms are good firms.
Okay. All right. Tiffany.
Okay, so this is just an update for you guys. Hang on, I gotta find which phone I got. Okay, tomorrow, for anybody that's interested, You're not going to love my answer, but it's as good as it gets. As you know, it started raining last time, and the guy from Metropolitan Environmental Service had to cancel. Well, we decided to just postpone him coming out because the lake had filled back up. Well, as of right now, the lake is low. It is still low, pending any rain today or tomorrow morning, but him and I have been in contact, and he wants to come out tomorrow. He is planning on doing early afternoon, and he's going to call me when he leaves. So I don't know.
Andy?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Was that Andy that's coming?
No, it's Chris.
Oh, okay.
What's the name of the firm?
Metropolitan Environmental Services. This is the one that I sent you guys out. We just came across the fact that they had already given an approximate dredging cost in like 2017 or 2018.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Yes. So this is the guy that's actually going to come out because he's not been out. He's not seen it. Now that the lake is lowered, he can see how many, he can walk out it. He can see what it is. So that's kind of my goal, is to just have him go out there, look to see how much is actual disgusting stuff that has to be removed, and just give us some ideas, take that back and see what he can do with it. Obviously focusing on the North Lake, but he's coming out. So, I'll obviously walk him over to the other lake as well. But anyways, anybody that's interested, this is the point to this. Anybody that's interested, I'm going to send you guys an email when he calls me. It's going to be last minute. It is what it is. But my guess is I'll probably get a phone call sometime between 11:30 and 12:30 that he's on his way. So if anybody's around and they want to meet down there, you'll have an email from me.
Meet down there means the community building?
Yeah.
Between the community building and the North Lake. So to where we can just kind of get an idea. And then today also, David and I had some conversations, and David had reached out to a couple different people. Same thing that Diane is doing. Diane is actually working on the exact same thing. As of right now, I do have a gentleman by the name of Ryan that is interested in coming out. And David, I don't know if you want to kind of tell him exactly what you told Ryan to start with, but it's basically a labor that works. His response was that he has been working. He's done some work for MI Homes in Minerva Park. And he also does work for Rockford Homes. So this is right up this guy's alley, according to him, to remove some of the trees and all that kind of stuff. So he's wanting to meet later this week. He asked me if Thursday at 1 p.m. or Friday at 1 p.m. works. To be honest, I can do either or. If somebody has a strong opinion for one, I'd prefer Friday, but I want to give you guys the option. If anybody has any interest in coming, does anybody have a preference between Thursday or Friday at 1?
Friday.
That's what
Thursday would be when I'm available, but Friday I'll be asleep between shifts. But whatever works for the most people is what I'm.
What's the name of? Is Ryan as the name of his firm? Ryan.
I have no idea who exactly Ryan. Is who it. Do you know who this one was, David?
I'm sorry, which one?
Ryan.
Ryan was with. Hang on a second. Okay, Ryan must be with Blue Ring because Jordan is with Shoal.
Okay.
And there's Elijah, gentleman, elsewhere.
Did you say Blue Rain?
Blue Ring, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's who he's with. I just found the email.
Okay.
Yeah, I would suspect Blue Ring. Because there's an Elijah gentleman and a Jordan with Shoals.
So what I'm going to try to do, just so you guys know, is I'm going to see when Elijah can come. And I would love to do them back to back. Do one at 1 o'clock, one at 2 o'clock, because I already have a Friday at 11. So if I can get him to do 12 or the other person to do 12 or 2, that's my goal, just to get a couple people out this week, send you guys some emails, give you guys some ideas of if anything's possible or not, or this year, or, all that good stuff. And again, this is really just to give you guys a couple ideas and options. I know we've talked about the mucksucker thing. This is more of the dredging option. I also, Diane, I had mentioned yesterday, part of the reason that we had talked a little bit about the fee schedule with Westerville Schools. You guys all may think this is crazy. That's fine. But I had a resident reach out to me, and when we had one of our last meetings, he had reached out and said that, or he had asked why we haven't asked Westerville City Schools if we could use their land to let some of this dry out, not where the school is being built, but the second one or the first one, whatever. They have plenty of land over there. They've got umpteen acres. May not work, may not even be a good option to move the dirt from one spot to across the street.
I think that's practical.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that if you don't try, you'll never know. And it may not be a good option and it may not work. And they may want us to reduce fees. So that was the point of doing the 50 to 75%. It's a discussion. Again, these people, as we are all aware, the majority of the cost of dredging is removing the wet dirt.
Well, the thing that I noticed the other day when at the South Lake is, around all those trees, I think we could use some stuff right there. Move it across the street to the, if you look at the root system for those trees, it's all completely exposed. And those trees right by the new, fire pit.
Yeah, no, you can't do, they'll kill the trees doing that. So you can't do that.
It'll wind will erode it back in too, unless you build a retainer.
Well,
well, we can all fight about the lakes at some other time, but
right. We need to. Yeah.
So we're just trying to get a couple people out here. Clearly there's people that want to know what's going on. And
I had to take care of that today.
Yes. So we're trying to get a couple different people. I did talk to Local Waste. Local Waste has a dumpster ready to go any day that we want to dump it in the event that one of these laborers could use it, in the event that we want to do another lake cleanup. Again, it was just one of those things. I wanted to give you guys some options of whatever. So Local Waste will drop off a dumpster if anybody wants to schedule something like that as well. Or again, like I said, if we want to get 2 or 3 more dumpsters, if one of these laborers, we have a crew, but they don't have dumpsters, we could spend some money getting them dumpsters. That's another option. So I can ask Local Waste how much it is and all that, but that's all stuff that I have no problem doing. But I just wanted to reach out to a couple people today to see if we could get any progress on the lake. Diane brought it up last night. It's a great idea to get some of this stuff moving. We know it needs to be removed out of there. So all hands on deck and we'll figure out how to get it out of there.
I only ask one question here, and that is that when they do a full-blown dredging method, sometimes they use equipment where the trees don't much matter. They just take them out.
Wrapping it up.
We'll know that tomorrow when he comes out to talk to us.
Just asking questions, getting information.
Yep. Sounds good, everybody.
All right.
Hold on well, you can go, but Diane, I saw a name, Brian Sutton, on the emails that you were
sending. Wrong guy. Okay. I guess. Who's Brian?
I'm just trying to figure out who that was.
That's Chipper.
That's Chipper?
Yeah. Facebook name.
All right. I didn't know. All right. I'm with you now. See? I did
Sorry,
know.
that's funny. Sorry, that was actually really funny. So yeah, that's really all I have for you guys. So if you guys want to email back and forth about the whatchamacallit, but I'll see you guys this week. So if anybody has any questions, we can kind of move on with that. But tomorrow I will send out an email as soon as the guy calls me and lets me know, but early afternoon if anybody's around. So keep watching your emails.
I should be able to make it, so
yeah. As soon as he calls my phone, I will send out a message.
All righty.
Fingers crossed. All righty. Bye, guys.
Bye.